What is going on, Colts Nation? And welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guys, Cody and Derek, here back for another episode here, guys. And we wanted to talk Matt Ryan. We haven't really been able to just sit down and talk about the impact of Matt Ryan. So I figured we could do that. We did a video about this time last year talking about Carson Wentz. That video talking about how does Carson Wentz help change this Colts offense from where it was, the season prior. And so we're going to do the same kind of video here regarding Matt Ryan, because obviously the Colts every year for some reason have to have a new quarterback. So here we are again, making another video talking about how does Matt Ryan change this Colts offense from where it was last year. So Derek, in your opinion, what do you think are the biggest differences from what Carson Wentz was for the Colts last year to what Matt Ryan is going to bring for the Colts this year? Well, let's just dive right into it here.
All right. I had a few different things, and we'll break down each one if you wanted to do that.
Good.
The number one of the few things, I'm in no particular order. I just wrote this down just off the top of my head. One, Matt Ryan's a better pocket passer. Inside the pocket, Matt Ryan controls the pocket and controls his understanding of it better than what Carson Wentz did. And, we saw that towards the end of the season, Carson Wentz, having that issue. Number two that I had was making the smart play. That's the very easy one. We've been talking about it nonstop since we signed him. Number three, reading defenses better. I think that's another thing that we can talk about. And holding accountability is the fourth one. When it comes to the pocket passer thing, there was a lot of times last year, especially towards the end of the season, when Carson Wentz spent a lot of time just avoiding the pocket or evading the pocket. For part of that reason being the fact that the offensive line was not doing very great at the end of the season because of just how many injuries there were. A lot of times Carson Wentz was getting pressured very quickly, but Carson Wentz also didn't make that easy on himself. He also did hold on to the football a little longer than what we would have liked towards the end of the season. And, his pocket awareness, just feeling pressure and evading it is so important when it comes to elite quarterback play. Some of the best quarterbacks in NFL history were able to move throughout the pocket and very rarely ever had to escape it, to be honest. And, Matt Ryan has those tendencies sometimes to evade the pocket, but most of the time, unless he absolutely feels like he has to, he's staying in that pocket to make that smart pass. And I've watched a lot of film breakdown, especially of Lawrence Owen breaking down the film on Matt Ryan. And there's just so many times when I've seen Matt Ryan take a hit on the chin and still deliver a beautiful throw in the pocket, even though knowing he's going to get hit. Still stays in that pocket and makes sure to make that accurate throw. And I just think that's something that can't be underestimated when it comes to Matt Ryan, because again, like we saw, Carson Wentz got, a lot of times turned into like what Sam Darnold was for the Jets. Like, what was it back in like 2019 when he was like saying, I'm seeing ghosts or whatever. And I felt like that was Carson Wentz a lot of times this last year where, he just felt like something was there when it really wasn't. And then he would just like lose the ability to stay focused on where he needed to go. And I think that's one thing that just can't be underestimated when it comes to Matt Ryan, being able to sit in the pocket and understand that, you have to stay focused on your reads going down versus just evading and trying to run.
Yeah. And hear me out. Like, I thought that was definitely something that the Colts will miss with Carson Wentz, is his ability to use his legs, right? How many times last year did you see that? When Carson Wentz was in trouble, he would, evade that pressure. He would scramble for a first down. Like, that stuff I think can be valuable, but not when it's at the detriment of your play, right? If there's a play to be made, you need to stay in that pocket and make that throw. And sometimes Carson would bail too early, I think, and create pressure for himself. So, I mean, it's no coincidence, I don't think, that the Colts went from one of the better offensive lines in terms of pressure. I know there were some injuries we talked about as well, but they were really good a season prior, in terms of pass protection and all those things.
And Phillip Rivers as well, who was a stationary quarterback at the finest.
Yes, exactly. But like, they went from one of the best to one of the worst. People are like, what happened? And like, obviously you can point to some injuries. You got to point to the quarterback too. I mean, Carson Wentz creates some pressure, sometimes unnecessary pressure for himself when he's scrambling out of the pocket. If he just stayed in the pocket and made the throw, he could get. I think he almost puts himself in situations he shouldn't be in if he could just stay in the pocket like a Matt Ryan would and things of that nature. So I think you're absolutely right in the fact that Matt Ryan, I mean, there's a reason he's called Matty Ice. He's cool under the pressure, right? He'll take the hit. He'll deliver those important passes that you need from your starting quarterback. Obviously, he can't scramble as much. He certainly can scramble more than Phillip Rivers could, but not to the Carson Wentz level. But, I think I would take a quarterback that's willing to stay in the pocket. I mean, heck, you think of some of the better quarterbacks in the league, over the decades and stuff, like the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, those guys, even Phillip Rivers, like those guys weren't mobile. They weren't like the runners. But
Matt Ryan too, like he's not immobile. I mean, that's right. The weird misconception is that people think that Matt Ryan's immobile just because he's 36, about to be 37. Like he can still move. I mean, there were a bunch of times last season when he ran for first downs with the Falcons. He ran for first downs sometimes. So like, this is a guy that you feel confident in being able to play in the play action, being able to roll out of the pocket if he needed to, because he can still do that. Again, is he an escape artist like Carson Wentz was? Probably not. Carson Wentz is a lot bigger and a lot stronger than Matt Ryan was and still younger. But nevertheless, yeah, he still can move for that.
The pocket presence is so much better. Much better. It's night and day. All right, let's go to your next point here.
Yeah, so, I mean, one thing you could stay on top of, and I kind of mentioned it already, and that was reading defenses better. Staying in the pocket, I think, is another thing that, that's one of the main things that people just have going unnoticed. This is one thing I know Colts Twitter will absolutely love listening to, and that's reading a defense better. Because I think we all agree that towards the end of the season, I mean, Carson Wentz was atrocious at reading a defense. And this will come into a point that we will say here in a few minutes about making the smart play. Just reading the defense and understanding that if there's nothing down the field, just dump it. There's no point in trying to throw a pass into double coverage when it's just not there. Even when you have your stud tight ends, it's just not something that you can do. And, being able to quickly dissect a defense is good too, because Phillip Rivers made a living of that. When it came to trying to find Nyheim Hines, there were a lot of times Phillip Rivers ran through his reads so fast, like he didn't see anyone. Nyheim Hines in less than 2.5 seconds. I mean, it was that quick. I mean, sometimes it was 2 seconds where it was just like, I'm going to stare this down and then bam. Like it's being able to do that, understanding how the defense reads pre-snap. And also when it comes to the blitzing, I think that was another thing that was the problem with Carson Wentz towards the end of the season, was that he was not able to read a lot of defenses when they were blitzing. And when they brought those blitz packages on the Colts offensive line that, again, at that time was injured a lot, Carson Wentz didn't set them up for success, didn't audible out, didn't call timeouts to make sure Frank Reich and him were on the same page trying to understand that. All those kinds of things that, again, go unnoticed. I think Matty Ice is, again, very understanding of where defenses are lining up, what blitz packages might come. And that in turn will help your offensive line when you can understand when somebody's bringing blitzes versus when you don't, and then you're going to get pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And there's got to be a level of trust there too, right, with your quarterback. And it was very obvious with how little the Colts used Carson Wentz down the stretch. They did not trust him to throw the football. They did not trust him to go and win them games, right? They just didn't. Like, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? And they did not trust him at times. Like, it really showed. So all that to say, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, his ability to read defenses, his ability to, get guys involved as well. Like, get not just one guy involved, but multiple guys involved, and to, be able to live to fight another down, right? That's something that Carson Wentz has always kind of had an issue with, is he tries to make that big play, right? And also on a personal level, for my heart and all Colts Nation's heart rate, like, we're not going to have to freak out every play, wondering what the heck's going to happen. I mean, I texted you the other day, Derek. It was funny. I was like, I don't know how my heart handled Eric Fisher and Carson Wentz on the same team, on the same offense. Whew, it was a stressful year, that's for sure.
It was bad, man. It was bad. You're right. Heart rate was bad. probably taking an extra 2 years off my life anyway. I already got heart issues. Carson Wentz has made it worse.
Yeah.
And then like this goes all the way back to the same thing, making the smart play, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I know that from where Naheem Hines was in 2020 to where he was in 2021, it was a massive drop off, massive drop off. And like, I know Frank Reich definitely has some blame for that because, he didn't, utilize him in a lot of good ways. But at the same time, it also came down to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz not being able to make those simple throws, or to Jonathan Taylor for that matter. We bring it up all the time. That Tennessee game, that second Tennessee game, Jonathan Taylor does that little hitch route right there in the middle of the field, just a delayed hitch screen just right there in the middle. He doesn't have anyone within a 10-yard distance in front of him. He's got 15 straight yards, easy. And it's a first down. You're almost at midfield. You just need another 20 yards, and your field goal kicker is going to make it. You're going to have a chance to win. And then sure enough, throws an interception into double coverage for no reason whatsoever. I mean, that's the kind of thing that, I expect Matty Ice to kind of pick up on. And Ballard and Reich have been saying it all offseason. Make the layups. Make the layups. It's that kind of thing. That's why Matty Ice stays in the league for so dang long. And even last year, he was doing that with the Falcons. And again, their running backs are nothing compared to what the Colts have now. Nothing. How comfortable is Matty Ice going to be knowing he can throw just a simple out route or fade out to his running back and just say, go get me 5 yards. Just go get me 5 yards, 6 yards. I don't care. Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines can do it in one way or the other. Either way, that's got to be such a reassuring thing for Matty Ice to know that if I don't have something downfield, I can dump it to these running backs, and most likely they'll make a play. If it's Jonathan Taylor, it doesn't matter if there's a defensive back right in front of him at the line of scrimmage. I assure you, Jonathan Taylor's getting 2-3 yards out of that play. Assure you. And it's about living to the next play, living and not dying by a dumb decision. Again, Matty Ice throws more picks than what Carson Wentz does, but that goes both ways. Carson Wentz is a lot more conservative at times. So he's conservative at the wrong times. He's aggressive at the wrong times. Matty Ice is conservative at the right times and is aggressive both at wrong and good times. So I would much rather take Matty Ice's situation than Carson.
Yeah, and I mean, and he won't miss a wide open T.Y. Hilton down the sideline to
I know.
win that Raider game.
I remember that play, bro. I think I tried to convince myself because other people were saying that T.Y. Hilton just stopped for some weird reason. But I think that myth is busted. Carson Wentz just flat out missed him.
Yeah, and I feel like Matty Ice won't do that. He's going to find the open guys. He's going to make those plays. Those, quote unquote layup plays. He's not going to miss those nearly as often as, Carson Wentz did. And, even though they're smaller plays, they matter. They matter in the course of a 60-minute game. So
we have one more point to bring up, and I think it's another one of the more important things. And we talked about it in a bunch of different videos already, but I think it's, again, something that needs to be brought up, and that's being accountable. Taking accountability for what this offense is doing. That's what a quarterback needs to do. If the quarterback or if the offense is struggling, the quarterback is the one that takes the blame. Quarterback is going to figure out ways to make sure that he's playing at an elite level and that his players are playing at an elite level, commanding that like you're a 4-star general, right? So that's what you need to be able to do. And that's what Matty Ice does. I mean, how many times I've seen a clip of, him yelling at his offensive players when they're not set in the right spot. Or I think there was one where he yelled at Mohamed Sanu to get effing set one time when Sanu was not in the right spot. It's stuff like that. I don't know if he's going to quite be that guy this year. I don't know, but that's the kind of thing I need. You need that competitive fire from your quarterback. When somebody's messing up, you got to let them know. It doesn't matter if it's in front of the team or not. If it's on live TV, you got to set them straight. And, this offense with a ton of young guys, ton of inexperience at some places, you're going to need to be that guy at times. And I think that Matt Ryan is better equipped to manage the situation with the offense than what Carson Wentz ever was.
Yep, and especially with the historic collapse you had last season in the last 2 weeks. I mean, I think that's even more of utmost importance to have guys like a Matt Ryan that's going to hold players accountable and not let the team get comfortable when they're looking good, right? In the last 2 weeks, like I have the utmost confidence, and I think 90% of Colts Nation, if not more, would say if Matt Ryan was the Colts quarterback last year, the Colts make the playoffs 100%.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I know like the team had issues, there's a lot of other things, but what that speaks to your locker room, starting with the most important position in football, that cannot be understated, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah, and I think that's going to do it for talking about all the positions of need for Matt Ryan and how he leads this offense differently than what a Carson Wentz led offense was. Let us know your thoughts, guys, on what Matt Ryan does for this offense now and what you expect for this offense going forward into the 2022 season. Thank you guys so much. And as always, guys, go Colts.